Welcome to the Inner Reboot with Sam and Heidi, your weekly pit stop to shake off the stress, laugh at life's plot twists and recharge your mindset. Because let's be honest, transformation doesn't have to be boring or involve 75 different types of smoothie.
So grab a drink, smoothies if you must, and join us for the wins, the fails and the awkward bits, because sometimes the biggest breakthroughs start with an inner reboot and occasionally forgetting why you even walked into the room.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. We're in person again.
Again, it obviously worked.
It
Worked
did work.
well. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm good. It's Monday. Spring started.
The sun is out.
The sun is out.
Thank goodness.
We
We're
are...
being joined by the dog.
The
Hi.
dog has come to join
Come
us.
on
then. Yeah, so I'm all good. I am good. Yes, I am good. I am good. I'm good. Although, I'll jump straight into it. Definitely in overplanner, overthinking mode. So we made lots of decisions last week. We're moving forward. We are moving forward.
Yeah.
And actually, I don't think this is necessarily a real trap we're in at the moment. It's definitely a real trap that I get in, which is keep planning the shit out of everything so it feels more comfortable and then at risk of not doing anything.
Yeah. Yeah. We are definitely, yeah, I feel that too. I definitely feel like we're planning a lot, but there doesn't feel like much momentum. It's like, oh, okay. Now we're in the weird stage. You know, last week we were talking about we know where we're going, but we don't really know what to pack.
Yes.
I feel like now we've overpacked.
We've got too much information. We've
Keep the
definitely
luggage
overpacked. Let's see how many episodes we can keep that going for. At what point are we going to arrive at said destination and be happy and fulfilled and everything's going to be wonderful?
Yeah, I don't know, but we've definitely overpacked.
That we're winning.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's the right analogy, because I think it's not the physical overpacking, it's not the physical overplanning, and I think this goes for life as well as what we're trying to do, not trying to do, what we are doing, is we have so much information overload, that then it almost causes you to overplan and overthink.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets really hard to do the action, because it's almost like, is that the right thing? Is it the wrong thing? What are we trying to achieve by this? Like, there's so many questions surrounding it. And I've always found the thing when people are like, oh, just do it, just do the thing, the most like infuriating 3 words, just do it, 3 words possible. Because
why infuriating though?
Because it's so hard to just do it. Like, I don't know what I'm just doing. I don't know what, like, it's about, well, what I'm trying to do now and understand is like, how can you break it down so much without feeling overwhelmed? It's like, what is the next thing to do? Like, what's the one next step that will take me closer? Whereas if I'm thinking too big and I know the destination and I'm trying to work out how to get there, I will try and plan that whole thing. I'm no project planner. I'm not equipped to do that.
Then how do you, yeah, okay. So it is about breaking it down then. It's taking everything that's been created and breaking it down into small chunks and going, actually, and I know you're going to hate me for saying this, just do it. It's like, take the thing, do the thing, make the decision, create momentum and see what happens.
Yes. And I think just doing it is fine. I think it's because in what I've seen and been exposed to and on social media and stuff, it's wrapped up in this like, oh, you want to start a business? Just do it. Oh, you want to like take the leap? Just do it. Like, it becomes this phrase of, if you don't, then you're scared to be brave and you're scared of like, like committing to something that might either be amazing or not. And I think the reality is none of those people have just done it.
No, of course
they've
haven't.
Had like, we discovered this the other day, didn't we? Like,
yes, we did. Yeah, we did a little bit of deep dive into some people, businesses, whatever you want to call it, and their journey, and we discovered that there was many years
in the background
of doing in the background than there was, but actually on the surface, face value, it looked like they just had this bright idea, ran with it, and suddenly everything was fruity and that's exactly how they wanted it and they'd reached their end goal. And that really isn't the case. And we've only been doing this for a handful of months. And I feel like the expectation of us, also from others, but of ourselves, is that we should be deep into the delivery and creating
Yeah.
and, whatever that looks like. And that really isn't true. So that is actually a bit of a head fuck, because it definitely, for me, it really made me step back and think, what the hell, actually, we've achieved quite a lot in a small amount of time. And there's other people that are creating stuff for years before they get to where they need to be. So part of it is about recognizing how far you've come, as well as understanding that the journey is not short. It's longer than we think it is.
Yeah.
And you don't get everything right every time you just do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it, is what do you experiment with that goes wrong and what do you learn from it? But actually, out of everything we're planning, and possibly now we're definitely into over planning, what do we pick from that we just go, let's run with it and see? Because you can plan constantly, but part of that is the procrastination. Definitely for me, I'm using it as an excuse to procrastinate all of the time.
Well, and also it's that what you've just said. It's like it's the planning. The just do is, what am I trying to say? You can think about all of the things you need to do, but the more you plan, the more you procrastinate. But also, I then generate more ideas. So then we've got more to pick from and more to plan for, rather than just going, right, what is this one tiny thing? So it is exactly what you've said. Like, you've hit the nail on the head in terms of like breaking it down into the tiniest step, because that's not planning, because you're not planning the detail of what might happen to everything, but it's going, this one thing might get me closer to that.
Yeah.
And if it goes wrong, then you can learn from it and you can adapt. Whereas I think where I get stuck is I try and plan everything for a bigger chunk. And then if that goes wrong, then it is like, oh, fuck, that's gone wrong. Whereas, because I'm trying to plan like a whole, I don't know, 6 months worth of work or something. And then it's like, well, yeah, if that does go wrong, then that is
Monumental.
yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas if you really strip it back and go, right, I'm just going to do this one tiny thing, and if that goes right, then this might happen, and if it doesn't, then we can then do this next. Yeah, it's so, when you're like out of it and you're trying to have a rational conversation about it, it does make sense. But I just think there's a lot of noise of like the expectation mismatch.
But who's the expectation for you or for others?
I think my
Of
expectation
yourself?
of myself, I think there is a little bit of like, what do other people expect? And I think that's it's hard, but it is also like, but their understanding is so limited. So it is more my expectation and my fear of failure and my worries of like existential doom happening that isn't going to happen if
Yeah.
it's just testing this thing. But if I do keep thinking about planning all of this big stuff, the existential doom will happen, because I'm not actually moving anything forward.
Yeah, that will happen. And also, you won't get the feeling afterwards of going, thank fuck I did that, because that feels really cathartic. And you
Yeah.
get that weight lifted off your shoulders of like, I'm the worst procrastinator in the world and I leave everything to the very last minute, because I am definitely better at working under pressure.
Same.
So if there's something like a certain thing that we've delivered recently, I've been given quite a few months' notice to create the content for that. I will normally tackle it about 2 days before and then have a mad blind panic of like, God, I've created it. Now I've got to learn it. Then I've got to deliver it. But it always, in my experience, it always turns out better than if I'd have started it 6 months before and slowly started to drip feed into it and create something.
Don't you think that's an amazing learning curve though? Because I work in exactly the same way. And I think we've talked about this
we're
before.
both doomed.
Well, we are, but we're also not, because I think we can set up our environment where that's okay.
Yeah.
And we both know that of ourselves and of each other. Whereas what is worse for me is when I know that that's how I work under pressure. I literally can't deliver in any other way, but I have to force myself to try and do that. And then that's no good either.
Yeah, but we shouldn't. Why do you force yourself into a behaviour that isn't fitting with your personality or your way of working?
Because I think it's viewed as like, that's a really shit, like, that's bad.
Yeah,
like, it
is
is.
it bad,
No, it's not
though?
at all for me. Like, it's not at all.
No, but I don't think it's bad for anybody.
Yeah, but
really.
don't you think, like, I agree, but don't you think in environments
we're told it's
bad? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's bad. But I think now we can use that to our advantage. However, our risk is we don't really have any deadlines at the moment.
No, we don't have any deadlines, but that's the beauty of this, the whole process of like over preparing. We need to set our own deadlines so that we're not over preparing. What we're doing is working to the
We're doing little actions, not
exactly
over
small
planning. Yeah.
actions. And even if we're procrastinating in that, it doesn't actually matter because the things that we're procrastinating out are the things that we feel uncomfortable doing, which is preparing too far in advance. So,
God, yeah, I hadn't even
mm,
thought about the fact that it becomes uncomfortable because we're preparing too far in advance.
yeah, that's what it is. If we decided something now that had to be done by Friday, we would literally work the shit out of it and it would be a really good piece of work. If we said, actually, it's something for a month's time, I
I
would
will just flip
literally,
flop around with that.
I would also get anxiety between now and that point, knowing that I hadn't done anything for it. But then that anxiety would fuel energy and the energy would turn into power and the power would be the thing that gets the thing done. So
So,
everything is relative to everything. Like those feelings of anxiety of like, I have to do this thing. And then all of a sudden procrastinating about it and then going, oh my God, when am I going to do it? I need to find the time. We always find the time, but that creates energy and momentum to actually get it done.
see, this is interesting because I've never ever felt anxious about doing things last minute when I was in probably like an individual contributor role where I knew that everything I could do could be last minute because I had no.
Reliance.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
either didn't need to send it to anybody else for them to be involved in, or it didn't need any other person's input
Hmm.
into it. It literally was like deadline day and that's me. So like multiple areas of my work. And it was when that was no longer the case. So I would still collaborate with people, but I didn't need their involvement.
Mm.
When I had to start collaborating with people and they were waiting for me to give them something that I didn't really know. So the deadline was the deadline. And then like the day before they'd be like, oh, well, I now want to input into that. And I'd be like, well, I wasn't clear about that. We should have put the deadline a week earlier because then I would have done, etc.
Mm.
It was when there was more people involved in the same thing when that got hard for me
Hmm.
because then I would get anxious because I know that I still wouldn't do it, but they would be expecting me to do it and there was more people relying on me. That's when I would get anxious, but I wouldn't if it was just me, like it
Yeah, I
wouldn't
guess
matter.
because it's other people's expectations then, isn't it? I remember working in an organisation and being an individual contributor and having that feeling of like, oh, I've got all the time in the world, which you technically have because, like you said,
Yeah.
it's your deadline. But what's interesting is when there was people at play that were saying, so can we have an update on that? Like, where are you on that? And that might be management, it might be something else. I would literally want to scream, like, I haven't done it, but when I do it, it will be the bomb
Oh no, see, I
and
would
it will
feel
be fine.
completely comfortable in that in terms of just winging that.
Really?
So comfortable winging that. And I'd be like, yeah, it's all good. Like, and just saying something that I knew they would tide them over, unless they were asking for specific details. But even then, I'd manage to wing it. And I think this is the other thing, like, because my roles changed so much and I was no longer completely in that space and having that
Mm,
control, and other people were involved or whatever, or people people would spring on me that they wanted more. That's what I couldn't cope with. People just springing it on me and
mm,
expecting to see something because I wouldn't have anything for them to see.
mm,
Whereas before that, they wasn't expecting, they just wanted an update. So they wouldn't be like, can you show me what you've done? They're just about
mm,
how are you getting on. I'd be like, yeah, great. I spoke to a few people. It'd be wonderful. When they were then like, how are you getting on? Can I see where you're up to? That's when the
mm.
roles were like that, I'd then be like, oh, fuck. No, you can't because I haven't done it. Um, but realizing that, I don't know, it's just starting to feel comfortable in that, isn't it? And understanding that that is a limitation.
Yeah. It's for me, I think it's taking ownership of the fact that I procrastinate.
Yeah,
Whereas
and
what
just,
I don't do it. So therefore that gives me anxiety and then I panic.
yeah,
So I'm not owning it
yes,
effectively. So
yes.
my messy middle, I guess, is that piece of actually not owning and being accountable for the fact that I know I'm a procrastinator versus yours is you clearly owning it quite well and being able to talk through it.
Yeah, I can,
If,
yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I think everyone around me knows that is when I can no longer be fully in control of that,
got
if that makes
you. Okay,
sense.
yeah.
Because there's other expectations or the environment
Mm,
or whatever. Whereas when I feel like I'm caught out, that's when I'm not okay.
mm.
But I still won't get anxiety leading up to it because I'll just be like, well, I'll do it. Like, I know I will do it and I know it will be great.
I do too, but I still worry about what other people think. And maybe that's what it boils down to. Perhaps I worry too much about what others think versus what I know I'm capable of. That's a completely different arena then,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah,
Of thinking, actually, are these people gonna it almost becomes my expectation of them then. Okay, what are they expecting from me? And I'm probably putting that massive, like making a really
yeah,
big thing of it, when actually it probably isn't a really big thing. It's quite a small thing,
yeah.
and just a few sentences can probably overcome that. Whereas I'm making out like it's freaking Mount
They want
Everest.
like
Yeah,
a full,
yeah.
like midway review
That's
or
probably what it is.
report.
But then I guess what's the moral of that story then is to be clear about other people's expectations. And I think
Mm.
that's something that perhaps I've historically not done as well as I should have done. So it's definitely a learning curve. But when you're in that midpoint, it's really hard to see the wood for the trees because
Oh God, yeah, the messy
it's,
middle was
yeah.
awful. I think I had a period as well where I was in that like, fuck it. Like, I think there's been like the last 4 or 5 years, probably as my career got more senior, when it was where it would play out a bit more because I'd be like, oh, I should be more on top of this. I should
Mm,
have been doing it in dribs and drabs. Like, probably I questioned myself more
mm,
because there probably was more likely that they'd be like, what's the update or whatever. Because it was
yeah.
over a longer period of time. That's why I'm not very good at working on projects that are like nine
Months
months long.
long.
Like, who
Yeah.
fucking, like,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm not a project manager for a very good reason. Can you imagine me as a project manager? Or you can you imagine if Rusty rocked up to manage a project.
I'm okay at
Oh,
organising
I can organise stuff.
stuff, but
I
I'm
can't do
just,
the bit.
yeah, I can't do the,
Like, by this point, we need to have done this little bit, and by this point, we need to have done this little bit.
no, I'm like, we'll just leave it all till the day before. It's fine.
Yeah, or wing it as we
It's
go.
okay.
Like, because I can't visualise what all of the little bits are. I think that's
Mm.
my problem. So I try and overplan so as if I do, but I actually don't. I have to
So,
do the bits.
to the point that we were saying at the beginning, then the over planning bit, how have we come to a point when we've overplanned, when we're both lastminute.com procrastinators? That's the conundrum that I'm trying to wrap my head around.
I think it's because, well, from my thought process, is because we are over planning to deliver on the things that we are not familiar with or not comfortable
Mm,
with or don't do. So, for example, if you take marketing,
mm,
we're over planning
mm,
to get our ducks in a row to then market some stuff. And because we're not comfortable with the marketing, because it's not our wheelhouse, it's not the thing we
mm,
do, if we think if we more over plan or create more stuff or generate more ideas, we're putting off that thing that's uncomfortable. Whereas if we were delivering a session,
mm,
we don't even think about it until 3 days before, and we're really comfortable about doing that
mm.
because we know what we're going to deliver and
Yeah.
what that looks like. Whereas I think we over plan when it's an unknown.
Okay, so here's an interesting conundrum then. In everyday life, so I'm just thinking about other things, like obviously we've got a big wedding coming up next year,
Hmm.
the planning of that. Is that,
Not us, for anybody listening. Not
no,
me and
not,
Sam. We're
we're
not
not
getting
getting
married.
married. My daughter is getting married. Um, do we overplan other things that don't crop up? You don't plan a wedding every day. Well, hopefully you don't, unless you're a wedding planner, of course.
And then you're good at planning,
But
so it's fine.
yeah, exactly. But I'm just trying to think of how this is attached is to everyday life, not just working
Yeah,
life.
yeah, yeah.
Of things like if you've got small children and something's coming up, do you find that you overplan more, and then because it's not your comfort zone and it isn't your wheelhouse, like what happens in those
So
situations?
I don't over plan at all
Okay.
in my
Do
personal
you
life.
plan anything?
If I can help it.
No.
No, that's not fair. I do plan a lot, but it will always be last minute, and it will always be if my or not even if my back's against the wall, but like I'll get really excited, so then I'll plan something and get
Mm,
something in. So I'll book it or get everyone to confirm a date.
mm,
But then the middle bit just doesn't happen. And then it'll be like the week before the event or something. I'll be like, oh, we need to sort this, and this out. And then I'll do it and sort that
okay.
out. I just won't. The longer the time between agreeing to do something or wanting
And
to do
delivery.
something and doing it,
Yeah.
the longer the time of that is, doesn't make a shit's worth of difference because I'll do it all in that last week.
Okay.
So, for example, I'm going on a hen weekend and it's to Mamma Mia thing. And so we all have to dress up in ABBA
Hmm.
gear. Some people literally 4 months ago were ordering outfits. Great. Like, this is wonderful. And they've been ordering them, sending them back because then they can order them on Vinted and get them cheaper because they're not up against the window and not paying like £10 for next day delivery. So, joke's on me, really. But they have been literally thinking about that for 4 months and
Mm.
like sorting stuff out. And I, for a very, very long time, would like criticize myself constantly, be like, oh, you should have been doing that. Like, why aren't you doing it? And every time somebody would mention they're doing it, feeling that like shame or guilt or a really bad feeling. This is probably the first time where I've been like, nah, I'm not worrying about that now. Yeah. Like, it's now 2 weeks ago. So now I will start to think
2 weeks to go
it's 2 weeks,
until.
it's in 2 weeks' time.
Oh,
So now I'll
okay.
be like, oh, I should probably start thinking about an outfit.
Yeah, you probably should.
Vinted obviously isn't an option now,
No.
probably, which is fine. But that's just, I don't know. It's almost like it's easier if it's all consuming and I can just do it
Okay.
rather than like the lot, like, oh yeah. I can't do it. I just can't
Does
do it.
it
Whereas
make a
now I do feel more
difference?
comfortable with the fact that I just can't do that.
So you're comfortable with doing it when you do it, which is last minute.
Yeah.
Does it make a difference if it's something, and I'm not saying you don't really want to go to a hen do. What I mean is if it's something that you've thought of or something that you've created as an event or a plan or a whatever it might be, an occasion,
No,
it doesn't make any
no.
difference. Okay, that's interesting.
I literally, brain will not operate until it has to.
Mm,
So I think it's also like then this is why like I'd be really like if my job was like a crisis worker or like something that's like up against it the whole time, that wonderful because I can solve everything. Literally ask
mm,
me to like sort something out that's a heap of shit or a massive mess or like there's chaos everywhere. Great. I'll organise that, I'll systemize it, I'll work out what needs to be done and I'll get that done. Tell me to do that over 4 months. There's
mm.
no point. So yeah, literally doesn't matter. When I was getting married, everything would basically get done when I realised that like people around me were screaming because stuff wasn't done. Or like they would be like, we need to do this. And I'm like, okay,
That's mad,
do
isn't
we?
it?
Do we?
Yeah.
Do we really? Like the house move, when we moved house, people are like 3 weeks before, are you not packing any boxes? No. No.
No, that bit I can definitely. Yeah, no, I would do that last minute as well.
Because I also am like, why pack boxes that I might need to unpack? But then also, like, in my view, the day before, we definitely know it's happening, for one. And then it's like, well, I just put all of the boxes in every room and literally just pack up the room.
Yeah. Hmm.
And I can't get, like, people who pack for their holidays that are like in a week, like, no,
No, that I kind of do.
no.
I
And
don't
do
ne
you also, like,
I don't put it in the case, but I definitely get out what I know I'm gonna take, so I don't wear it and have to rewash it again. So I'm definitely more organised in that arena of, like, if I know they're the clothes I'm wearing, I'll put them to one side and be like, "I'm not wearing them," because I can't be asked to rewash them. Do you know
no,
what I mean?
I can't even think about that. I don't even, I literally can't.
It's bizarre, isn't it? How people are different. But I'm just trying to understand why this why we get stuck in the middle in terms of a working place, because everybody is so fundamentally different. You've got the procrastinators, you've got the people that are really good at planning months in advance and want to actually, because that's how their mind works. And
Hmm.
actually they would get anxiety if the ducks weren't in the row at the right time at
Oh, yeah.
specific points. So in a working environment, do we get stuck in the middle not because we don't know, but because we're working with so many different types of people, personalities, ways of
I don't
working,
even think that's the
etc.?
working environment. I think that's like in our personal
Well,
lives as
yeah,
well. I think it's like we will all approach something so differently. And it's almost like, oh, oh no, I could do it like that. Like
mm,
as if, like there's so many connotations. And I think no matter which way you approach it, you might have those feelings of like, oh, that's weird, or why wouldn't you do it like that? But I also think whether you're a planner or a do it last minute or whatever that is, that middle bit, I think for everybody is really tricky. Like, and I actually don't think it really, even if you're a planner, it's tricky because there's so many unknowns.
Yeah.
So then I think the people that are good at planning then overplan as well, because they're like, right, well then this could happen, or they are getting frustrated because they don't have the information they need. So I think that bit between where you are and where you want to get to will always be really complicated, and more so if you don't have the language, the tools, or the understanding of
So
how
what's
to
the key though to unlocking that, I guess, is the
awareness, probably,
communication.
knowing that people operate differently, and if that has an impact. So in your personal life, I guess people operate differently, but you can probably navigate that quite a lot in most scenarios. Like there's probably not as many scenarios where it's a real deal breaker of like nothing's going to happen on the hen weekend unless I turn up naked, if I,
I would suggest not.
nobody wants that, sort that out now or later, like, because that doesn't have an impact on anybody else. And even moving house to some extent, apart from me and Lee, and he's just sort of accepted how I am, like it doesn't really have an impact or is short term. Whereas when you're at work,
I don't know. I think moving house might have an impact if you weren't out in time.
well, yeah, but I'm always going to be out in time. Like I'm always going to be out in time. Like that's not going to happen.
Things might be in bags for life and not in boxes, but you'll be out in time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They might just be shoved, or like they might just be piled up on the side of the path waiting for us to come back again for the next one. But we will always be out in time. And I think like the wedding scenario, like, I don't know, I'm quite relaxed. So then also it's like, well, if that doesn't happen, like it doesn't, all of the main stuff was done. It was all of the nice to haves. And if they were really important to me, then I probably would have done them earlier or done them first, maybe. Whereas so I think personal things, they come and go, don't they? And they're normally short term. They're normally like specific to a scenario. And if you're really at loggerheads with somebody, then you're probably not going to last forever and ever, because that will just keep coming up and happening. Whereas at work, I think it's much more impactful, particularly if you don't have the language or you don't talk about it. So if you don't understand these things, and as a team, you're not aware, which probably for most teams, unless they work in the people arena or have a leader that is very knowledgeable and insightful, or a coach, are probably not going to be aware. So then there's just this constant like niggling, probably,
like friction between
the planners and the wingers.
And the wing it.
Planners and the wingers.
Yeah.
Unless it's like, okay, the planners plan and they let the wingers wing.
But there's nothing, I've dealt with a lot of situations in life by just going, fuck it, I'm going to wing it and see what happens.
Yeah, and I think we've lost the ability to do that. And I think some of that is down to expectations, but I also think some of that is down to social media, or like our world's being busier. I think there's so much over information about everything that you sort of start to overanalyze everything, or become so much more aware of everything. Maybe this is too broad, and maybe this is just a me thing, but I think you can get information overload. So then even for the smallest of things, it's always like, oh, like you start to overthink those things and not just wing it, and not just trust your judgment.
Do you think we've lost the ability to act in the moment more?
Yes.
That's the one thing I find. The reason I didn't used to be an overthinker, definitely like going back to when I was a child, a teenager, even like a young adult, I definitely wasn't an overthinker, but I've become one because so much is thrown at me. I'm now second guessing everything. So it's not overthinking as in catastrophizing about what could happen in the future if that thing is done.
Yeah.
It's almost like second guessing in the moment of like, oh, well, I could do that, or I could do this. Oh no, but I could also do that as well. So mine is more overthinking in terms of the options.
You've got too many options
that are available.
Yeah.
So I've lost the ability to just wing it.
We was talking about this last week in terms of design, wasn't we?
Yes,
like,
yeah.
The creative, I think winging it in the creative flow is harder to find because you've got too many options to start with.
Yes, yeah. But also in the day-to-day life of being stuck in the middle, I feel like I get stuck in the middle because I'm too influenced by so many different options around me. I then worry that if I pick the wrong option, what will happen?
Mm.
So then you don't pick any options.
Well, or there's too many to that. Yeah, not just even if like I pick the wrong one, but also it's like, well, this one's better for this, and then this one's better for this, and then this one's better for
Well,
that.
because options have options.
Yeah,
It's like it's like
too many fucking options and too much. Not. I think no. I do think you can have too much information and knowledge. I do think you can, and I think there's so much conflicting knowledge and information, or
yeah.
like so many layers of stuff. So you like go on social media now. If I scroll through mine, very rare do I see any of my friends on there or people that
Mm,
I actually like are in my day-to-day life. And quite often, obviously, the algorithm then flings you something else, and you're like, oh, well, I hadn't even thought about that, and now that's another option.
yeah.
And maybe I need to now explore that as well as that. And actually, if you go back, the thing I wanted to solve was X.
But now you've got 4 other problems to
Maybe I
solve.
wasn't even thinking about X. I didn't even know
Oh,
X
yeah.
existed, and now I've got,
Now you are actually having an existential crisis.
yeah,
Yeah.
happens quite often.
Yeah. God help us all. Yeah.
Yeah, I think too much information that you've not asked for.
So, something you mentioned earlier was being and doing. Was
Ah,
being and
yes.
doing?
Yeah.
I think that's really important because that's the stage where I feel like partly social media, partly just the world in general, there seems to be just more stuff
Hmm.
around us happening, shoved in front of us, whatever it might
Yeah.
be. So, talk about being doing
Yeah, I
because I
love the
think it's
being
really
doing
cool.
model. So I first come across this when I was doing my coaching, and I think it's really important. So, and you'll also, have you seen the quotes where it's like, I'm trying to be more of a human being than a human doing?
Yes. Yeah.
And so I think part of it is that. So it's like, if you do it like just on a graph and two axes, being's on one side, doing's on the other, and you sort of track it over a period of time. So you don't have to do the graph if you want, you can just think about it. But it's like, how much time do I spend in being mode,
Hmm.
and how much time do I spend in doing mode?
Hmm.
And they should sort of like wiggle up and down. So you should, in theory, spend a little bit of time in one of the, so say you start and you're doing a little bit of time in being mode, so you are just like connected with who you are as a human being. What does that mean? What's good for you? What do you want to be doing? Like, and you're sort of processing and thinking, and then you go into doing mode, so you've had a bit of time reflecting or thinking and like being, and then you go, right, well, I'm going to do some of these things now, and I'm going to be a human doing for a little while.
Mm.
And it sort of then is like you either hit a crossroads or you realize you're doing too much. So you consciously have to revert back to like human beings. So it's that constant like reflecting, doing, reflecting, doing, reflecting, doing. And when I first come across the model, I done mine in terms of like from 10 years old
Mm.
to where I was in the coaching. And it was really interesting because I had my whole graph basically, apart from the coaching qualification and probably my maternity leave, everything was in doing. Like I had just been doing, and I'd just been following and on the treadmill and like trying to get promotions, trying to work harder, trying to save money, like all of those things that you're expected to do.
Mhm.
I was doing, and I'd had a baby and I'd then done some studying and whatever. I hadn't actually, until I'd done my coaching qualification, really, apart from those two main points, stopped or gone into being mode and just being, like going to work, going to whatever was happening in my life and just doing them
Mm.
with space to then be. So you're
Who
not
you are.
chasing, you're not really pushing for things, you are just connecting to who I am, what are my values, what am I interested in, who do I want to be, what do I want to be doing, what do I want to be experiencing, be feeling, and all of those things. So thinking about it, but also feeling quite grounded. And it was just something that had never, ever, ever occurred to me until I'd done coaching.
That's really interesting. I think everybody can relate to that
Mm,
that carousel that you're talking around about always being in doing mode. I've
yeah.
definitely been victim to that for many, many years. like
It's
right
really
from younger, if I
hard.
sat and did that, I would understand it. Something really resonated with me while you were talking, which was something that Olivia said this morning around the sunset, the
Yeah,
sunset.
sunset.
And she said that at work, when it goes very quiet, they all stand by the window and they just watch the sun come down over the sea. And I said, "Oh, do you take pictures and stuff?" And she said, "No, no, because we're not allowed our phones. So we're not," her words were, "We're not doing anything. We're just being in the moment."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, wow,
Oh,
that's,"
oh, I just got
and
goosebumps.
for a teenager
But yeah,
that, I mean,
incredible.
they pretty much live on their phones. It was really interesting to hear her say it, but also witness. I could feel from her how much it meant from her to just be in the moment. And it's mindfulness. She's being mindful of, being in that moment. It's really
And it wasn't a
interesting.
forced thing from her either, of like, oh, I
No,
should be saying this. It was just a really like, it was almost like,
reflective. It was very
well, no,
reflective.
don't be stupid. Like, of course, we're
Yeah.
just watching
Yeah.
it. Like,
Yeah. It was
yeah, it
mad.
was
And we don't
incredible.
very often take the time to actually just be in the moment, because we like being in the moment. We also want to do something in the moment.
Yeah.
I must take a picture. I must capture this on
I
video.
literally done the
I
same
must
thing this
post
morning.
this.
So I saw the sunrise, and it was like the sky was beautiful. If anyone's following me, you'll see it on the Instagram page in a reboot, where it was like, oh, this is great, and this signifies the start of a lovely week in spring and all of that stuff. And so I captured it and done a post. I didn't for 1 minute. I literally went in the garden. I was like, oh, I've got to get wet feet to take a photo of the sun. I didn't at all go out there and go,
Wow.
I did say, wow. I was like, oh, the sun's really cool. The sunrise is really cool. Or the sky's really lovely. But I didn't just think, let me take a minute or two. I didn't do the pause. So I was like, this is great. I'm going to do. There was no,
Yeah. I'm going to be in the moment,
yeah,
enjoy the moment.
yeah. And I'm
It's
really
really
not very
interesting.
good at being in the being space.
No, I definitely think it's an activity that I need to reflect on. It's a slightly different, I guess it's a different model, similar thing. So being, knowing, doing is something
Yes.
that for
Yeah.
years, and it's actually who are you being whilst doing what you know? And it's more about the behavior side of it. So
Mm,
actually, we know a lot of stuff because we're skilled and
yeah.
educated and we've got qualifications, and we know how to apply those. So we know what to do with those
Hmm.
things and knowledge. But who we are being, as in the humans that are applying themselves to that, is completely different, because you can do stuff and know stuff and do it in a rush. So therefore, you're not actually perhaps being your authentic self, because you're in an environment where you're having to rush and you're not taking a moment
Mm,
to be the human that you want to be represented as.
yeah.
So it kind of ties
Yeah. I
in with
like
that
that.
model, but it's just, I feel like all roads lead back to being. Who
Yeah.
is the authentic human? Who are you when you're doing these things? What does it mean to you? And are you taking a minute to actually stop and hit the pause button and go, oh, what does this mean to me? How's it making me feel? What do I do with this?
I agree, but I
Mm.
also don't, and we've talked about this a bit before. Like, just I don't think we equip anybody with that. Like from a really young age, like
It's
we do
equip and
not
time.
equip. Like I could think back. Like I reckon it was in year one or reception in primary school where
Can
they're
you
like,
remember that far
no, I
back? I can't.
can't. Only because the kids have been through that. I definitely can't remember it. My
I
childhood is like
cannot
blank.
remember that.
But it's like, like you used to get the about me like things and
Yeah,
you'd fill them in. And it literally is
yeah.
about you as a person and what you like doing and what like sets your world on fire and all of that stuff. And you just sort of lose it. Like even when you get to the second half of primary school and then definitely when you get to college, like there's no more of that like encouragement in terms of who am I and who do I want to be. It's what do you want to be? And it's like, what
Mm.
do you want to study? What do you want to learn? Like, there's none of that who anymore.
But then okay, so thinking about that, so the school thing, and I'm probably going to get shot down by a million teachers, of which I do own a teacher, so it's fine. I'm sure
I
she'll
own
give me
one.
some feedback. Um, are we set up in the educational environment then for experimentation, or are we set up for consistency through fear of failure? It's a really interesting, because it ties in with that of you're taught to experiment when you're very little, right? In reception, it's all imaginative play
Mm,
and it's all experimentation play and it's all about getting it wrong and what did that teach you, etc. But
yeah.
then when you move up the educational system, it's not. It's almost like be consistently doing something And is that born out of a fear of failure? So we're not given the tools or the space or the time to experiment wildly, not widely, wildly,
Wildly.
like we were when we were 3 and 4 years old in reception, versus you're pushed into that consistency and almost not pushed out, but navigated away from what I would call really true experimentation as a child.
That's a really good point, and I think this is like, I think it's a whole other topic, like in terms
It
of
is
the
another
school system
topic.
and stuff. But
Yeah.
I do think, I don't necessarily know if it's born out of fear of failure. I think that's I think that's an outcome. I
Mm,
don't think that's a cause. I don't think we're resisting experimenting because I don't think, like, in the school system they're resisting experimentation because they're worried about failing. I think it's such a blanket
mm,
approach that everyone has to abide by, like, and do. It becomes tick boxy. It becomes about your grades
mm,
across all of these subjects. And so therefore, by default, you're all there to, like, hit this mark across the board. You're not there to experiment with the things that you
mm.
really want to lean into to some extent. You can only lean into them as far as the curriculum will allow, and you can only um, disassociate with a certain number of subjects as well. So I don't think
Yeah.
it's a
I
fear of failure, but I think it's like the space is definitely not there to experiment.
No, just not to go wild.
Have you seen um there's that meme where it's like, basically, you wouldn't judge an elephant on its ability to climb a tree, and you wouldn't, like, compare that to, like, one that is, and I think there's another thing, that you wouldn't compare an elephant with a fish in terms of, like,
Its
achieving the
ability to
same thing.
swim.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I think
yeah.
it's that, like,
Mm.
whereas we at the moment are still set up in terms of, like, comparing elephants with
Yes,
fish.
absolutely. Yeah.
And I think that's probably the
Mm.
harder thing. And so then I think you enter the rat race, don't you? Like, you very quickly enter the rat race, which we've talked about in terms of, like, doing,
Yes.
and you don't really have much time to experiment. So you just keep doing until either something major happens or you get some insight or some knowledge that enables you to go, oh, I can stop and think about the being.
But also the being bit is not just about being in the moment and appreciating your surroundings. It's about being who you want to
Yeah,
be. If you want to throw a fit and go wild, do it.
yeah.
Because that, yes, it feeds into the doing, but it's still about who you're being at that time.
Well,
And
it's
I think
taken me,
that's really
like,
important.
not my whole life because I wasn't aware of it, but it's taken me until my mid-30s to feel comfortable with doing things last minute and being okay with that
Yeah.
and not hiding it. And it's
It's
that exact
acceptance of
thing.
that.
Like, I
Yeah.
didn't know enough about who I was and me as a being and what I enjoy, or how I work best, how I feel at my best, all of that sort of stuff, what my values are,
Mm.
until much later, because you just
So
don't
then
get
it's
the space.
about be who you are.
It is about be who
It's
you
the
are.
moral of that story.
The big moral of the story is be who you are and don't overplan.
Exactly.
No overplanning from
No
me.
overplanning.
I
Absolutely
will
not.
still continue to overplan, but it's not an overplanning thing. It's in order to stop overplanning, it's not actually overplanning, it's like overthinking, really.
Hmm.
And like over it's not overplanning in terms of the detail. I'm not a detailed planner, it's overplanning in terms of the options.
Yes.
So it goes back to, we've got too many
Yeah.
options. It's
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
over choice. And instead, the one thing, the other lesson from today's conversation with Sam and Heidi is going to be, what is just the one thing? So not just do it, but what is just do the one thing? Like, what is that
Yes.
smallest
Yeah.
thing that you can do?
Take one and do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that will
Hmm.
eventually get you to where you want to be.
Exactly.
That's what we need to do at the end of each episode. Lessons
There
from the
we go.
conversation with Sam and Heidi.
Yeah.
That's my
Perfect.
lesson.
There we go.
Everything's
Thank you.
sorted. Now we're just gonna